Hey Ponderers, Marple here. It's been a while since I made one of these. I think I say that at the start of every development log I've been making using the video. But lots has been happening over here, and I'm excited to share some of the game design that's been going on and a little bit of future plans. Not a whole lot there because I want to keep it spoiler free, but yeah, this new research stuff and like just the general direction of how I'm taking the upgrades, I am really excited about. I've been touching on this in previous development logs, but like really leaning into the idea of like if you want to be an alchemist, you can just invest your points into alchemy, and then your alchemy will be like really strong. Same with like your artifacts or your spell casting or your charms or like your experience rate. These are like all things that are going to be compa- car- compartmentalized. I think I said that wrong. But when you take a research, you're going to be improving that whole section worth of upgrades. And I just think that's super cool because we like this version we're gonna be seeing like so many different like people with different builds, maybe like leaning all the alchemy or like half alchemy half casting. Like I think it's going to like really give the game that really beautiful unique experience for every player. That's that's like a buzzword saying it. Every player is gonna have a different experience. But I just really enjoy that aspect, and I think it's going to add a lot to the replay value. So like, if one time you play through and you're just like totally focused on spell casting and generating a ton of resources that way, that would be fun. But then like maybe you lean away from that and go into the other aspects that you could dip your toes into and like really lean into that and feel what that feels like. Obviously it's like a big balancing mess. It's kind of hard, and I imagine there's going to be like very specific builds that are way better than others, but we'll let you guys figure that out. But and also like I want a lot of unlocks to still be behind research, mostly optional unlocks. So like if you invest points into your storm casting, like then you'll get really powerful storm tools, things that will improve your energetic resources and things like that. Which kind of takes me into my next fun thing is that I'm really leaning into resource types in this version. I started playing around with them in the most recent patch 0.5, and it like made things way easier to have intellect just modify mental resources gained. Doing that like makes it so that every future like resource you unlock in that category just be affected by an upgrade that's like one of the first upgrades you unlock, which makes my life as a designer way easier. Because if I can just make upgrades like at the beginning of the game that are like constantly relevant without having to like do things to make them relevant, like have upgrades that are like, add this better effect to this upgrade or something like that, it just makes my life as a designer so much easier. And it also just makes the upgrades more interesting. You'll find in this version like every resource type is like really important on the resources, and they each will have their own modifiers like gain rate, quality, max capacity. All of these will be like modifiable properties of each resource type, which will then like it means that like there's so many things to upgrade, and as you are like progressing through the game, you'll constantly be getting new resources that have types of like upgrades that you already have that modify these types. That's really cool. It also means there's kind of like an interesting design paradigm in Orb of Creation where I can only make spell effects of effects that exist on upgrades. I found this out through trial and error, but it turns out like if you have a spell that increases your mental resource capacity, and that's the only source of mental resource capacity, that spell becomes very strong, to the point where it's like necessary to progress because it's the only source of that upgrade percentage. So to counteract that, I have upgrades match the spell effects you'll see in the game. If I have a spell effect that increases your mental resource capacity, I'm also going to have an upgrade that increases your mental resource capacity. And because I'm completely leaning into resource types, I have access to all these like sorts of spell effects that I can create. Suddenly like I can have magic resource type quality and magic resource gain rate, like these things as spell effects because I'm using them in upgrades. Which just makes me really excited for the kind of spells I can create. It sounds simple, but like Attune Orb no longer increases divination spell power, but instead increases the amount of magic resources you gain. And that's like a simple little thing that I think most people kind of overlook, but it actually is very relevant. It means that like Alchemy is will be improved by Attune Orb. Your just general passive generation rate will be improved by Attune Orb. Mana is a magic type resource in this new version, which means Attune Orb now just increases your mana generation speed, which is very, very relevant, especially in the early game. So very, very excited about those changes. You won't be seeing like, you know how Raylock's Cube is like a knowledge capacity increase. You won't be seeing those kinds of spells or effects anymore. Like almost all of specs will be targeted on the resource types. And yeah, I think I'm really excited for that because it just makes like spells, you won't have like redundant spells anymore or spells you don't use. Like I'm pretty sure like across the board you'll be able to find usages for almost every spell in the game, thanks to resource types. So yeah, super hyped about that. Yeah, some other things that's been happening. I've been posting some teasers about like how things are going with glyphs and equipment. I am really excited about these changes. Again, because what glyphs and what equipment you have and your ability to add more of them, like having 3 quick on a spell, is going to like be something that not every player has access to, like in their entire game. Like it actually requires you to upgrade the glyph, the quick glyph, with a very sparse resource or scarce resource. So like if you aren't a quick glyph enjoyer, you probably will have level 1 quick, where somebody else might be really into that quick glyph and have like level 5 of it. I think that's really cool, and I'm really excited for that. The same with equipment, like you choose what equipment is going to be upgraded. They're a little bit different how they work, and I'm excited for you guys to see that. But again, like some people might have like level 5 conductors, while others might have level 5 amulets. Like this is something that's going to be constantly at play and making your experience unique in what kind of equipment you like to use. Glyphs themselves, so cool. I'm really excited about the changes I'm making to them. I think there's like no more redundant glyphs either. They all have a very specific effect. So like dilated will actually increase your duration, but extended increases your duration but lowers the power. And yeah, these little fun little treats. Yeah, I'm excited for that too because glyphs are just way more cool. Um, I'm just rolling through these. Alchemy. I'm excited for the changes I'm making to alchemy. I'm nerfing it quite a bit. That might make some of you sad, but also the nerfs are allowing me to make it like much more cool to be an alchemist. Some of the significant things I'm doing is alchemy now has slots. You'll see this as like a standard thing, but the way the like equipment has slots now, alchemy also has slots. So you can only use like 2 types or 3 types of alchemy at the beginning of the game. So you can only have like transmute knowledge and like transmute water going at once. You can have the power in those be like you can have 12 water going and 10 knowledge, but you can only have the 2 types. If you want to increase it more, you have to invest into alchemy. So like only the true alchemists will have access to like the full like maybe 8 slots that you get by the end of the game. But yeah, I think this is going to help a lot because alchemy towards the end game is just everything. Everything is done through alchemy. You kind of don't need spells anymore. So I'm really hoping that like restricting the usage will make it more creative in how you build your loadouts. Perhaps like in one spell loadout you have a bunch of like conjure woods or something, and then you transmute knowledge and skill in your alchemy. So like you're using alchemy as a supplement to your spells rather than alchemy becoming everything. And I imagine alchemy will become everything for the people that invest into alchemy like entirely and choose to go idle. But that won't be like a full thing because wizardry is going to be like constantly powerful throughout the game. So yeah, it's just fun to talk about this because like I really think that this version is going to make people's experiences vastly different. I've heard that like, and it seems like people are having pretty different experiences in how they approach the game, but like it's going to be like a very very like wide gap now. I've been thinking about rituals a bit. Yeah, I don't know what exactly to do yet. It seems I really don't like that rituals just become a button mash. And I think I can like correct this with more unique enemy types and things like that. Having enemies that like react to different damage types and like maybe shield enemies where you can only attack them at a certain time. Things like this that make like force the player to be a little bit more chill within rituals. But it doesn't feel quite right. Like it feels like I'm more making annoyances to slow down the player than like actual incentives to slow down the player. So I've been thinking about rituals a lot. There's a chance that like rituals itself just gets like changed quite a bit. I'm thinking about a version that relies on all the spells that you have accumulated beforehand, all the resource spells, and have it be more like resource oriented combat where you have to like expend space or knowledge to defeat the enemies. That's some weirdness being thought out. Nothing quite solid in there, and I don't know. I'm gonna feel that out. That's all of like the changes to the current content I'm thinking about. But I've also have 2 new sections being planned out and slowly created. There's one of them's like a half section. It's more of like a moving upgrades over to this section, and then like it still will have new things in it. But one totally new section that will happen post rituals likely. And I will not talk about that too much more than that, but just the kind of where I'm going right now. Yeah. I still don't know when this version will be out. I'm hoping, and this is me just spitting words out there, but I'm hoping November will be this launch date. And that's kind of what I'm holding myself to. So by saying it, maybe it will manifest itself into existence. So, yeah. I think that's it for this one. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. And yeah, I'll talk to you later.